This is the interview of Wallace Frank Gordon. He was born on June 25, 1925. He served in World War II in the United States Navy. He was an electrician's mate, 3rd class, petty officer. The date is December 30th, 2013, and our interview is taking place in La Plata, Maryland. I am the granddaughter of Wallace Frank Gordon, and my name is Allison Gordon. I am conducting this interview as part of my History Fair project for my school, Plum Point Middle School. Keith Huntley Gordon, my dad, and Wallace Gordon's son, is assisting in the interview. The interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. Where and when were you born?
Where was I born? In New York City. We lived on 5th Avenue in a below the street apartment, and it was right across from Central Park. And I spent quite a few days over there in Central Park playing in the sand pile and what have you.
What were your parents' occupations?
My dad was a top-notch tool maker, and he got his training up in Worcester, Massachusetts, and came down to New York to go to work.
How many siblings did you have?
Siblings? I had just one, my brother James. He was in the Navy too.
Let's continue with your entry into the service. How did you enter the service?
Well, I entered the service like any other kid that was there in high school in 43. We were 16, 17 years old, and we wanted to get into war. That had started years before that, but we all wanted to get in. And a fellow by the name of Bill Schultz and I played hooky one day and went over to New York to sign up in the Marine Corps. And we got to the Marine Corps recruiting station there, and they told us, you can't join the Marine Corps for a while because we got such a line of enlistees that want to come in that are before you, and you'd be drafted. You're too old. He says, you're going to be drafted in the Army. So we went over to the Navy and joined the Navy.
Did you go to a training base or boot camp, and how did you get there?
Yeah, we got to Newport, Rhode Island, and went by train from New York, and got into Newport, Rhode Island, and we went down on the base at Magruder's Island Boot Camp. And that's where I did my training for boots.
Did you go to any military schools or receive any specialized training?
Well, after boots, I went to electrical school. That was over on the mainland, and went through electrical school and learned electricity, trained in various types of electrical training.
Electricity on ships was fairly new at that point, or was it pretty established?
Well, they had electricity on ships. I went aboard a minesweeper after that, and I learned how to put the cables out behind the ship, and we worked in the Chesapeake Bay on a training ship, YMS 249, and
was that your first ship when you entered service?
Yes, it was. And it was a training ship, and we had to train crews, new crews for the new ships that were coming out.
Let's talk about your time in the Pacific. Let's talk about your time in the Pacific. How did you get to the Pacific Theater? How was the trip abroad?
Well, after the 249, I got off that and got on the USS Quail AM 377, and we went out to Cuba and then down through the Panama Canal, come up along the coast of Mexico to San Diego. And from San Diego, I spent a little time there, but not much. And then we went over to Hawaii, to the naval base in Honolulu. And in Honolulu, we had to redo our armament. I think they had, at that time, the submarine warfare had tapered down, so they took off some of the depth charges that they used for submarine warfare and put on two 40 millimeters just in case we ran into a lot of airplanes over in the islands over there. So they added two gun tubs of 40 millimeter guns, and we had to go into the harbor, Pearl Harbor, for that. We stayed there for, I don't know, whatever it took, a month or so. And then we went on over to the islands from there.
Were you minesweeping the whole way after you got out of the Panama Canal?
No, we didn't start sweeping, I guess, until we got out to the islands.
What was your job on your ship that participated in World War II?
In the Pacific? Well, basically, all the electrical duties that were performed, you know, screwing in light bulbs and taking them out, fixing the fans, and taking care of the batteries in the gyro room and that sort of thing. Along with electrical minesweeping, where I had to roll out the cables. I would operate the winch to put the cables out and then go up and put the timer on so that we could time the different fields that the electrical cables set up. And we had one cable longer than the other, and where the current went through the water, it would set up a field on one side and the other, a magnetic field, and then it would explode the mine according to the different types of fields that the timer would set up. You know, maybe fast, slow, whatever. Mm-hmm.
What did you witness during combat, and in what ways did you interact in combat? What role did your ship have in the war?
Well, usually we're just sweeping with other ships, and I didn't see any real combat that I remember, except maybe combat with the weather, but any real shooting and stuff, I didn't see too much of that.
Did the minesweepers often sweep before the battles so that the ships could get in?
Yeah, most of the battles, the minesweepers had to go in there and clear the way for the ships to get in. They were the first ones in there. And we swept in groups of minesweepers. One would follow the other, and the first one would, you know, clear the way for the other behind it with their sweep gear.
Can you reflect on any casualties or destruction that you witnessed in the Pacific during the war?
Well, there was a typhoon that hit Buckner Bay in Okinawa that was rather destructive, winds of 80 miles an hour, I think. And I saw a YMS. The first wave hit the YMS and took the superstructure and moved it backward, and the second one swiped the the superstructure off the top of the ship, and the ship sank.
What is the
Underwater.
superstructure?
Superstructure's the bridge and the funnels, the smoke funnels, and all the living quarters that were above deck.
What were your emotions when witnessing this?
Pardon?
What were your emotions when you witnessed this?
Very poor emotions, I think. To see somebody go down like that, it's a very sad thing to see. And not nice. People don't like to see destruction like that. I didn't anyhow.
How do you get through
But
that?
we made it through. We sailed out. I think the next day there was 132 ships up on a beach, something like that. And there was a couple hundred ships or more that were injured in some way. We weren't injured. We were smacked around a lot by the typhoon, but we made it through. And after that, we had a detail to send some volunteers ashore to see if we could find people. They gave us 45 caliber, 45 911 Colt to put on our as sidearms to go ashore. We wore metal helmets and what have you, and went ashore to see if we could find people.